You deal with it in yourself, which is challenging, but you can get through that. But then worrying that, you know, that your children have got it is just completely different to how you feel about yourself. It's such an unexplainable worry on how they might deal with their life or what might happen to them. My story started of having the diagnosis of Cavernomas 15 years ago. I was 17 at the time, so the science and understanding was completely different to now of the condition. So I was very poorly, lost vision, constantly being sick, awful headaches, and my local A&E kept saying it was my age and that I was having migraines. I was back and forth from the hospital for 3 weeks, and at the 3 weeks in, I couldn't even walk. So at that point, my parents said, "We're really concerned, please can you look further into this?" I was then given an MRI scan, immediately told, "You've got a brain tumour, you need to go up to King's in London," which at 17 was such a whirlwind. The different feelings I had of being scared, what is it, am I going to die? And they told me within 24 hours that it was a cavernoma and that I'd had a huge bleed from it, and it's a 4 centimetre cavernoma, which is quite big. It's in my right frontal lobe, it's literally at the front. They diagnosed it as multiple cavernomas, and I can't remember exactly, but I feel like it was quite quickly that I was told that I had CCM2, which is the genetic mutation that I have. All of my symptoms got better within 6 months, so double vision, sickness, fainting, those kind of things. So I was in King's for 4 weeks. Luckily, I had no brain surgery. They thought that it was more suitable that we waited to see if anything changed. 6 months later, I was just turning 18 and I was completely back to normal. So I'm really lucky. It was kind of like I'm at an age where I didn't really comprehend what was happening. That was done, you know, I'd had that happen to me, I've recovered, and that's it. It wasn't until I had Lily, when I was just before I was 22, that I started having funny sensations when I was pregnant in my mouth, which I had never really had before that. And also I didn't know that it was something wrong, really. I thought, oh, everybody must get these tingly sensations on their tongue and things. And then when she was 4 months old, it was my first Mother's Day, so I don't think I'll ever forget it. I felt my face drop and I thought, this feels like I'm having a stroke. And I shouted to my mum, I said, "Mum, can you come here?" Like as much as I could while having slurred speech. And they called an ambulance and they were there within 3 minutes. And they took me to the local hospital and they said, "You've had a stroke." So all I remember is saying, "I've got a 4-month-old baby who I'm breastfeeding, so you need to bring a cot from the children's ward down to my room, and so I can continue breastfeeding her," which they did. I recovered well from this stroke in terms of physically, but the sensation carried on. So when I had a follow-up appointment, I said, "I don't think it's relevant, but I just wanted to say that I keep getting these funny sensations in my mouth, and sometimes it's spreading to my left hand, so like my fingertips are getting tingly and numb." And straight away they said, "We think you have epilepsy." I still get seizures every day, which is difficult because if somebody had a seizure and they had a tonic-clonic seizure, that would be quite a dramatic response from people. You can't see my seizures and nobody knows I'm having them, because I could have one now and you wouldn't know. But in terms of how my brain reacts, I'm still exhausted from having a seizure, even though it's not the type of seizure that people think when you say I've got epilepsy. I didn't really have many complications after that until I had my son Louis. My seizures just got a bit more frequent in my pregnancy. Luckily, still no loss of consciousness, just the same, but just more frequently. During my pregnancy and diagnosis with Lily, I was never told that it was even a genetic condition. They didn't know then that it was genetic. This was in 2008, I was diagnosed, and 2011 when I had Lily. 4 years later when I had Louis, the science had developed in comparison to before. So as much as they said, you can't, there's no option of having, for example, IVF PGD, because it wasn't funded on the NHS for Cavernomas. The only thing I was offered was, would you like a genetic testing for your baby while you're pregnant? But there is a huge risk of miscarriage. And I said, well, even if it comes back that he has got it, I'm not going to do anything. So I didn't see the point. But it naturally was a thought that came into my mind when it was confirmed that it's genetic, and that it's a 50-50 chance of your child having it. My daughter started getting headaches when she was 8 or 9, so she's now 12. And it took me quite a long time to accept that maybe she had Cavernomas, which is really hard. So I was really scared to kind of make that decision that I wanted to find out, because she was a lot younger than me when I found out, and I knew that it would change her life forever. So I think it was about 8 months that went by, and I was due to see my consultant. And I knew what he would say to me, but I thought, this is a point in time when I need to ask him his opinion. And he said, you definitely need to get her tested, Jade. So we were quickly booked in for an MRI through a consultant at a local hospital. And I remember getting the call, so I was driving. She said, are you able to talk? And I thought, oh my goodness, I know what she's going to say. So I pulled over in my car. She said, your daughter's got Cavernoma, she's actually got 2. So we'd like to sort out her having an appointment with a neurologist at King's, the same care that I was under. So having to tell her was really difficult, because she'd seen my life, how that had been. And I didn't want her to worry that that's what her life meant. But she's amazing, she's really resilient, and she just took it. Okay, well, that's okay, that's why I've been having headaches. And she'd had a few episodes where she'd had nausea, and she needed to go and lay in a dark room, but we were able to manage that. So when we saw the neurologist, she was amazing. She showed Lily the images of her MRI, and she said, your mum's very knowledgeable. Your mum's had it a really long time. She knows exactly what to do. The natural worry is I don't want her life to be like mine with the condition. She's had it from such a young age that she's got so many challenges she's going to overcome as a child and a teenager anyway. And I just have this horrible, almost guilt that she's got that from me, and I know that it's not my fault that I've got it. We actually found out a couple of weeks ago that my dad's has the gene, so he would have passed it on to me, and he has had no symptoms up until now, and he's 61. So I think that's really positive, that shows that when you're diagnosed, whichever way you're diagnosed, it doesn't mean that your life is going to be doom and gloom. I have had a history with symptoms and bleeds and a stroke, but I'm still able to work and bring up a family and do lots of normal things. And I hope that that's a strength for my children, so that Lily, who has been diagnosed, can see that you can live a normal life, even if you have had some things triggered. It took me 10 years, I think, to be open and honest, not only to people around me, but to myself. And it is scary when you talk about something that people have no idea what it is, but having the confidence to say, but I'm okay. I'm okay. I do have seizures every day, but I'm okay. I just need your support and patience, and to be able to be honest.